I refuse to not be first.
Do we do enough? Well, I never shut up about it.
It must have been about 16, 17. We nicked their guilt rings. Right, the bouncer's guilt ring.
This is no good for me. That's the reality. If you want the honest truth, and I see it every day.
This is KUGAN CASSIUS for IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast. We're in Dubai here for the hardcore event tomorrow night. I'm joined by Mr. Tarver. How are you, sir?
Doing good, doing really well. Glad
You
to
look
be
well.
here. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
So, yes, let's crack on and talk about the card, obviously. Interesting heavyweight scrap that headlines the card tomorrow night between the man over there, Lucas Browne, and the man over there, Mr. Jarrell Miller. A bit of a weird fight, obviously. Lucas Browne's kind of at the back end of his career, but Jarrell Miller obviously has been out the ring, had 2 fights last year, had like 4 or 5 years out of the boxing scene. But how do you see this fight?
I think it's a very interesting fight because what you call a crossroads fight. This is one of those perennial crossroads fights. Big Daddy, man, Big Baby Miller is one of those fighters that has all the talent in the world. But for some reason, little things get in his way. But if he ever can really lock in and focus, I think he's the best U.S. prospect of really becoming heavyweight champion that we have. You know what I mean? He's there. He's the closest. Just that far away from really getting over that hump. You know what I'm saying? And tomorrow night could be the first start of that. But he's fighting another fighter that has the same type of abilities. I mean, if this guy hits you on the chin, it's good night. I don't care who you are. But also, his conditioning has always been in question. Can he fight a whole 12 rounds? He has the ability, Lucas Browne does. But again, that mental mindset sometimes is that little edge that allow those guys to get over the hump or not allow those guys to get over the hump. I think both of these guys are locked in for an explosive fight tomorrow night. And to the winner, they're still in the heavyweight title picture. That's what makes this fight interesting.
We know the fight you're talking about for Jarrell Miller was due to have happened a few years ago when he was meant to have fought Anthony Joshua in Madison Square Garden. That fight didn't happen. Joshua then went on to lose to Andy Ruiz. But listen, we know the situation that prevented that fight from happening. But a 4 or 5 year layoff kind of while that situation was kind of going on, and that obviously had some effect on his career moving forward. But that's a long gap for any fighter to be out of the ring, especially at the age he was at. He's 33 now.
You know what? At any other division other than the heavyweight division could have been catastrophic if he takes a 4 and a 5 year layoff. But it's the heavyweight division. It takes 5 years for a heavyweight to get in the picture anyway. Big Baby Miller's still in the picture. He's still in the picture. So, he gets this win, man. They're going to be talking about his name, I think, getting in there with one of the top heavyweights, maybe a Wilder, maybe a Ruiz.
Let's talk about that heavyweight scene at the moment. A lot going on. Obviously, we've seen the antics of not just Tyson Fury, but Mr. Alexander Usyk that have been back and forth this week. The fight is imminent to be announced, we understand, but it hasn't been done yet. But yeah, have you been keeping tabs on what's been going on?
I mean, it's been actual drama, man. Both fighters are really putting it on there. Usyk don't talk much. You can't hardly understand what he's saying, but you know what he's saying. And he means what he say, man. He said he want all of them, so it's a big fight. But Tyson, the king, is setting the stage for an unbelievable fight for Undisputed. And you can see he's thinking. He want to put the pressure on himself so that he can rise to the occasion. And I can really sense what Tyson is doing, man. And if he win this fight and become Undisputed, it's going to be hard to argue with anyone that he may be the greatest heavyweight of all time. That's if he retires undefeated. And I said it first.
Antonio, boxing's a wonderful sport where everyone's interested in how much money boxers are earning and what the splits are and purses are and what you're getting. He should be getting more. I mean, it's crazy because we're not getting any of that. We're just kind of contributing to that discussion. But the talking point from the last week was this apparent 70-30 split, which has been agreed to in favour of Tyson Fury. In your opinion, for a man that holds 3 belts to Tyson's 1, in that division, is a 70-30 split fair in your opinion?
I don't think it's fair in my opinion. I think 60-40 would have been fair Tyson Fury's way. I think that would have been fair. 70-30, nah. You're putting that man in a box, bro, and you're not giving him the respect he deserves, being an Olympian and undisputed. He's holding all the belts. I think 60-40 would have been fair, and I don't think anyone would argue with that.
But for Alexander Usyk to apparently agree to this 70-30 split, he must be super confident that he can beat Tyson Fury.
Either that or he just want to make the fight. You know what I mean? He want the fight to happen, and kudos to him, man. I mean, he's not ducking, he's not dodging. Tyson know he wants to fight, so that's why Fury, imposed that 70-30. He feels that he has everything in the palm of his hands, with the media and being the face, and Usyk not being really recognized abroad. I think that's what Tyson Fury was feeling, like, hey, I'm the star in this fight. So, but 70-30, you kind of did him dirty, bro. You kind of did him dirty, man, for real.
We know in less than 3 weeks, our Anthony Joshua will fight your countryman, Jermaine Franklin, who put up a great display against Dillian Whyte back in the UK in November of last year. It's an interesting fight for Anthony Joshua because he's coming off the back of 2 losses to Alexander Usyk over the last 18 months. So we know there's a lot of big fights there pending, Deontay Wilder, etc. There's a Dillian Whyte rematch, etc. for Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury even now. But where do you see Anthony Joshua at this point in his career? Where do you think he's at?
I think he's at the crossroads, and I think this is a big fight for him if this young man come in, inspired and ready to do something big, like pull off a major, amazing upset, and then we're going to have to really be questioning, how great was Anthony Joshua. There's going to be a lot of questions over his career if he don't look great in this next fight coming up and solidify himself as the next, heavyweight behind, Fury and Usyk. The 3rd best heavyweight in the world. And even Wilder got something to say about that. So there's a lot of fights that can be made in the heavyweight division right now. Man, they can do a round robin. And I'm talking about between 8 people. And it'll be a hell of a fight on each night. You know what I'm saying?
Royal Rumble.
Royal Rumble, exactly.
I've got to ask your opinion, which is something obviously that as people in boxing now, we're used to seeing the influx of influencer boxing. Kind of started a few years ago when there was a sold-out event with mad numbers on DAZN at the time, I think it was, between KSI and Logan Paul. Now that's kind of transcended over the last sort of 3 or 4 years, where now it's a thing, influencer boxing. What do you think about it?
They doing their thing, man. They bringing a lot of eyes to the sport. Everybody in the world right now feel they can box, and boxing is hot. YouTube, TikTok. Everybody want to get in the game, man, but let's not forget about the guys that really do this. The real professionals, man, the guys that make this their career. I mean, let's not forget about those guys. Those guys deserve the same type of love and attention that these YouTubers and these other people are getting. Let's not forget about the real professional fighters, man, because they're the one that keep this sport alive.
I do believe at some point we are expected to see someone you know very well in Mr. Roy Jones Jr.
Oh, Roy coming through?
Yeah, I think so. I believe so. He's going to be here this weekend. So can we see a 4th one?
Hey, you know what, man? It don't seem like I can make no money without Roy Jones, so shit. Hey, let's go, champ. Let's go, champ. Yeah, man, everybody been calling for that Roy Jones Tarver exhibition fight, man. I'm like, why I couldn't get Jake Paul? Why I couldn't get Jake Paul? You feel me? Man, I don't know, man. Me and Roy, it's real cool right now, man. We work together at Pro Box TV, and people need to really, truly know our story, man. I think it's a lot different than you would think. But, that fight is always out there. I think that's something that the fans will always love because we had the history from the amateurs all the way to the professionals and everything. So if it's out there, and I talked to my man here, so it's a possibility, man.
Hold up.
Big boy, what's happening? You see him?
Listen, one of the greats.
I will show you the screen, just because
Oh, that look nice.
Wait, there we go.
And 2 chocolate brothers in Dubai.
Look out.
Looking too smooth out here.
We are going to do our own bit later on, but we were just talking about there. Obviously, Roy Jones is going to be in town.
Correct.
These guys had their trilogy, but people, would they want to see them in an exhibition?
Put an exhibition on for real. I think I definitely would buy it, 100%. Tarver, man. I think Tarver in better shape than Roy, though. I don't know. Tarver and that son every day. He out there in the gym with his son. I don't know, man. So it should be a good fight, though. I think he should do it. He should do it.
Uh-oh.
I got to advocate for that. Hardcore boxing, June 19th. Antonio Tarver's Roy Jones Jr. Part, what, 3? 3.
4.
Damn, I'm getting old, bro. 4. I'll commentate. King Cass will be next to us. Let's make
You
it
heard
happen.
it. Big baby, you heard it.
Just before you go, just a comment that Antonio made. He said, why couldn't Jake Paul call Antonio Tarver out?
Listen, first of all, let me just say about Jake Paul. I like Jake Paul. I think he's a great guy. But he knows he got to pick certain opponents at a certain aspect in his career, which is all true. You can't call out one of the OGs and, and be as rambunctious as he wants to be. Tarver might come upside the head a couple times. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So it'll still be a fun fight. I think the fans will definitely tune into it. But, they're all about numbers right now. They don't want to see too many good fights per se. They're about a number game right now, which is understandable. It's business.
Right, we're going to have our chat later on.
My God, appreciate
Love
it.
you. Likewise, baby.
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, that was interesting. Interesting. It always is when big baby's involved. Okay, Mr. Tarver, thank you very much for talking to IFL TV. Have you got anything else you want to...
Tag me on that. Tag me on that.
Definitely. Thank you very much. God bless. Thank you.
Refuse to not be first.
Do we do enough? Well, I never shut up about it.
It must have been about 16, 17. We nicked their guilt rings. Right, the bouncer's guilt ring.
This is no good for me. That's the reality. If you want the honest truth, and I see it every day,